If the Rams sign a free agent, who will it be?
Todd Gurley.
If the Rams trade a late round pick for a player, who will it be?
Royce Freeman.
Cam Akers is injured for the season with a torn Achilles, and we're going to tell you exactly what you should do. I'm Alan Seslowsky, here with RotoWire head writer Mario Puig.
Tough to know, but I would guess it's going to go someplace in the 4th round, maybe even maybe higher than that. I don't know. You know, some people's processes these days, it's like they just say like the highest draft capital guy in the whatever offense gets everything, something, and that kind of reasoning could lead you to conclude that Derrell Henderson is a 3rd rounder versus.
Who else is on the roster that could have a significant role for the running back position?
Yeah, they have a few guys in-house. I think only one of them, at most 2 of them on the team from last year. That's Xavier Jones, the undrafted guy last year out of SMU. And if they picked up maybe Raymond Calais last year, I can't remember when they got him, but he was the 7th rounder out of Lafayette by the Buccaneers last year. He's like a 5'9", 188 speedster type. Probably not a serious candidate for too many snaps. Don't know what to make of Xavier Jones exactly. He played special teams in maybe every game last year, certainly most of them, and yet he didn't play a single offensive snap. So it remains to be seen how much the Rams have specifically confidence in Xavier Jones' ability to play on offense. Like, they definitely want him on the team, but we don't know yet if they ever thought, yeah, Xavier's going to play 300 snaps this year. Maybe they're not ready to give him that. Maybe they need to make a move because only... other than those 2, the only ones that they got on the roster, besides Derrell Henderson, that is Jake Funk, the 7th round pick out of Maryland, and Otis Anderson. I think it was this year, undrafted out of UCF. Anderson's just a practice squad guy. He's like a slow version of Raymond Calais, so I don't think he's going to even make the team. Funk is kind of interesting, but he's got a long history of knee injuries, and he's only about 204 pounds, so he probably can't play too many snaps. Basically, we, other than Derrell Henderson, don't have anything proven for offensive snaps in this offense. And Derrell Henderson is a player I still like, but I don't think I'd want him playing 800 plus snaps necessarily. That might be asking too much of him. So we'll see if the Rams stick with basically Xavier Jones as the top backup, then maybe that means they like him enough to kind of at least be the Malcolm Brown kind of equivalent to this year. I guess we'll see about that. But yeah, otherwise free agency is pretty barren. I guess the top name might be Duke Johnson. If not him, it's Le'Veon Bell. Some people would say Adrian Peterson and Todd Gurley, although I hope the Rams aren't thinking along any of those lines really, but especially the last 2. That's the only reason I wouldn't myself buy in the 4th round is I'm sitting here thinking like, man, what are the odds they trade for somebody? And I think they might. So I probably wouldn't take him earlier than the late 5th, early 6th or something like that, but I don't think he'll fall that far very often.
If we get to the season and the Rams have not added anybody, where do you think Derrell Henderson should be drafted?
Yeah, if he has no competition at that point, then my downside reasoning doesn't exist anymore, I suppose. So if they really don't do anything, I guess I can't really argue against taking him as high as kind of like the early 3rd or something like that.
And you tell me Derrell Henderson or the other player, okay? Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders.
Josh Jacobs.
Josh Jacobs. I think that's where the line gets real close.
Okay, ready? Trey Sermon.
Henderson.
Okay, so you have Henderson ranked as your RB21 based on those names that I've given you.
That sounds fair. I mean, I've seen Davis go higher than that in a lot of drafts and like Jacobs lower, but for me, yeah, it's like Jacobs probably needs to go off the board before I take Henderson just because I'm pretty sure Jacobs gets 250 plus carries this year.
So the Rams are in a Super Bowl window, and we've also seen they're not afraid to overpay to fill a need. Who are the most likely 3 top trade candidates they could acquire if they're willing to part with a 3rd round or even a 2nd round pick?
Especially if we're talking about the group of running backs who are only 1 year left on their deal. Like, part of the appeal of a guy who has only 1 year left on his deal is you can kind of manipulate the compensatory pick selection system by you trade hypothetically, let's say like trade a 4th round pick for Ronald Jones. And I think that would be enough to get him. And they could probably justify that by just saying like, hey, if we give him 250 carries this year, he's going to sign for, $8 million a year in free agency. And then we'll get a 4th round compensatory pick. And we'll just kind of get a free rental for a year out of him. And that could very well work. But if they're going up to a second or a third rounder, then that's, to me, almost would be thinking like maybe they're worried about Cam Akers' long-term future, and maybe they're looking at someone who still has 2 or 3 years left on their deal. And at that price, I guess I'd be thinking more along the lines of James Robinson. But I don't know if, I know the history of Achilles tendon tears is really brutal with running backs, but still seems like that would be a little bit high of a price, I think, a second or a third rounder. I feel like they can get away with going a little cheaper than that and maybe going after Ronald Jones. I know some people were mentioning that they thought Melvin Gordon and Jordan Howard were options. I don't really see that way, but they're guys with 1 year left on their deals, so the reasoning is there a little bit. I like your mentioning of Damian Williams. That's a guy who would be a perfect skill set and trait fit in that offense. It would be not that different from the kind of situation he had with the Chiefs, the system back, but hey, the system's there. He's fast, he can run, he can catch. He might not have good vision, but the space is there. It doesn't matter what he sees. He just goes straight ahead. So I think Damian Williams could be pretty good. I think very much cheaper than that, you could probably get like Royce Freeman. I like Jalen Samuels a lot as a fit there. I have no idea whether he's on anyone's radar though, but otherwise Sony Michel has 1 year left with the Patriots, and they'd probably give him up for something like a 5th or a 6th, something like that.
What, if any, effect does this have on the passing game? Does this make you change your outlook or your rankings on any of the key pass catchers or Matt Stafford?
It certainly is tempting to say that I guess Stafford has to do more now, but maybe not. I mean, their defense, if it's as good as last year, they can kind of just put any running back out there when it's time to run out the clock. In scenarios where they're trying to score, you would have to think that makes Stafford a little bit more of a threat than with Akers there, because Akers probably would have been their best chance to score from within 10 yards, within 15 yards, and Henderson can probably do that stuff pretty good too. But if it's true that he won't do it as well as Akers did, then I guess we're down to either they're kicking more field goals or Stafford comes through instead. And I definitely like Stafford, so the field goal option isn't my first suspicion, but yeah, I mean, maybe this is something at least if you had some sort of tiebreaker scenario you were looking for between like Matt Stafford and Ryan Tannehill and whoever else is around that part of the ADP, maybe this is what gives you the reason to go a little bit more with Stafford. But I'm probably looking at him the same way I have to this point. I was always at least curious to invest in Stafford. I definitely think he's a good player. I think he's going to have a really good year. So I don't think this is enough to really make me willing to pay more. Maybe I feel like a little less anxious or something than I might have been otherwise.
Try RotoWire today, free for 10 days. Get our premium tools, rankings, analysis, and breaking news alerts. No credit card required. Go to rotowire.com/try.